Hey, Michelle, I'm going to say something really quick and you tell me what you think we're going to talk about based on what I'm about to say.
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
I want to suck and blood.
What's the good thing of getting my rosemary?
I'm going to go get some garlic. So, welcome back, everyone, to Just Between Us. We're going to be talking about the newest Dracula movie. It was released in 2025. It's absolutely fantastic. And well, you know what? I take that back, okay? Because I'm kind of oscillating on that.
Okay.
So, let's talk about the beginning of the story.
Mhm.
We start out with a mortal, Vlad. He says his name is Vlad. And
Mhm.
this is important
Yeah.
because historically we always heard that Bram Stoker
Mhm.
based his Dracula on Vlad the Impaler. Now,
Right.
based it, but isn't the real story.
And King Charles is actually related to him, by the way, just so you know.
Oh, really?
Yes, he is. Sure is.
Wow, I
He was
didn't
a
know
real
that.
prince. He was a real prince. Yeah, supposedly King Charles is related, and I think he went to Transylvania a couple of years ago, and they talked about that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
We
He
should
was
do
Vlad II, I think.
Yeah, we should talk about that. That I had no idea.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So he is in love
Mhm.
and she's in love. And it's a true, wonderful, beautiful romance.
Mhm.
And then the Ottoman Empire, I think that's who they said it was, comes and attacks them.
Mhm.
He goes to the head of the church and he says, I only pray. I only ask that you pray for
Mhm.
my wife, that she's safe. That's all I ask. He doesn't say it like that, but the clergyman
Right.
says, I will pray. And Vlad is like, don't pray. Tell
Yes.
God.
Mhm.
So then the saddest scene, well, second saddest scene happens where his wife is captured.
Mhm.
She dies.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you have anything like that I missed that you wanna add to that, Michelle?
Well, during that time, people had many wars for religion. And he said to the priest, look, I fight your wars for your God. And all I ask is that you keep my beloved safe. That's all I ask of you and God. That's it. That's my only prayer. So he was very serious. And of course, the priest was like, of course, go out there and fight. But, back then during the Crusades and during that time, people fought for religion. So when he found out that his wife, was unalived, he was not a happy person. He's very upset with God at that point. It was heartbreaking.
It
Yeah.
really was heartbreaking, and actually so everybody, spoiler alerts are coming. Don't watch this video if you wanna go watch the movie and you don't want spoiler alerts, but he ends up actually impaling the clergyman,
Mhm.
and then he starts
Well
committing blasphemy.
well, he curses God, basically,
He
right?
curses God, and he also puts his arms out, staring at the crucifix like
Mhm.
he was Jesus too. So
Um,
and yeah, he did. So this is why I'm like, I oscillate whether I like it or not because it's very in your face, like,
yeah.
it yeah. And it's important because that's how the book was, and we'll talk a little bit about what life was like at the time. So
Mhm.
then, it turns out that it was that blaspheming of God that turned him into a vampire. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so when he was impaling the priest, he's like, "Tell God, because 'cause I'm sending you there right now. Tell him, I'm not happy with him or whatever," and he kills the priest to, like, send a message to God, like, "I'm no longer your servant until you bring my wife back to me. I will no longer serve your God," and he kills the priest, sending him on his way. He blasts God, threatens God, and we all know through history, don't mess with God. So he basically became a vampire. God kind of punished him, I guess, made it to where he couldn't kill himself. And he spent the rest of his time looking for his wife.
Right.
Yeah.
So 400 years go by,
Yeah.
and this whole time he's been creating an army, I guess, of vampires
Yeah.
to search for her.
Mhm.
Generation after generation, he's just waiting for her to come back. Now, I don't understand why he gets such a why he knows she's gonna be reincarnated somehow. And if you think about it at the time, I bet they didn't believe in reincarnation at the time. So even like the film is opposite.
Well, it's make believe. You know, it's fantasy because basically he believes his wife was a pure soul. And when he went to the priest before he killed the priest, he's like, bring her back. Tell God to bring her back. And he's like, I can't do that. He's like, yeah, you can. Tell God right now to bring her back. And he's like, only pure souls can come back. And he said, my wife is a pure soul. So I know she's coming back. Bring her back. And
Oh,
when the priest was like, I can't, he's like, well, then you tell God to suck it. And I'm not going to serve him until I get my wife back. And he kills the priest, and the priest goes on his merry way. So basically he's mad, and God punishes him, makes him immortal. So now he's like, okay, I know she's coming back to me, I know she's going to be reborn. And so he's like obsessed with this, his wife coming back to him. I mean, let's be honest, ladies. I mean, we're lucky if a man thinks about us 2 weeks after we had a date. This guy's 400 years is waiting for his woman. That's a serious love. They had a wonderful soul bond. So yeah,
it's yearning. Bring back men that
yeah,
yearn.
yes. Oh, by the way, yeah. I mean, and I think you have a clip that we might be playing later. The Romanian accent is so sexy. It's romantic, and the way the movie is, it's very, very romantic. It's a love story. Dracula really is a love story, and in a weird way, but it is. It's a love story. It's a
It
sad
is
love
a
story,
story.
but it's a love
Yeah,
story.
it's a love story. Okay, so then we have a couple of lucky coincidences that happen. The first is that one of Dracula's army footmen, a woman, ends up finding a young woman who looks exactly like Elisabetta. And then Elisabetta's fiance ends up going to Dracula's castle at the same time.
And it was based on a book. Like there was a history book that had sketchings of her when she was a princess and she was married to him. And so that's kind of what they went on, was that picture in the book. And that's kind of how they identified her later. And it's the same story that they've done in pretty much most of the mainstream Dracula movies, like they did with Johnny Depp. And was it Johnny Depp? No, it was Winona Ryder. What was his name? Gary Oldman, who played Dracula in the very first one with, I believe it was Keanu Reeves, Winona Ryder, and Gary Oldman. This movie is very similar to that movie. It's like they remade that movie from the 90s. So the plot is almost the same. But in this one, they add some different pieces like the book and the picture. So you can kind of see a sketching of Elizabeth. So that's how that girl who he made into a vampire recognized her, was from the picture in the book.
Mhm.
That's how she knew. Yeah.
Her name is Mina. Mina's fiance goes to
Hmm.
Dracula's home. He's a solicitor asking Dracula to sell one of his properties or something like that.
Hmm.
And Dracula tells him, go to sleep, but don't come out of your room at night. And this guy doesn't listen to like
I
what?
mean, first of all, I'm like, sir, you're in a creepy ass mansion with this creepy host who is scary. Looks like he has a bun on his face. I'm like, what? What's with the hair in the face? Kills a rat and drains his blood and drinks it, but I don't think he saw that. So, I mean, honestly, why would you leave your room? Very rude.
Yeah,
But wasn't it, didn't someone go to his door though and he thought he was being beckoned? Like I thought somebody was like kind of wanting him to go out of the room, kind of.
I don't remember.
So I don't know, is I'm not nosy. I'm scared. I'm the type of person I'm putting the dresser in front of the door, rosary, and
Yeah,
I'm doing my prayers. Okay. I don't want to, if you're in a creepy house, you tell me not to leave my room. You just give me some water and hopefully there's a toilet, and I'm not leaving my room till sunrise.
yeah.
This man goes and just starts exploring. Like, how rude. You know, when people are nosy, you always get nicked. In the
Curiosity killed the cat.
movie, every movie, the nosy neighbor, the nosy realtor, y'all, if I'm a realtor in a home and I hear a noise upstairs, I'm not, hello, hello, and then going upstairs and looking, because you're going to get, and they're going to wrap you up in plastic and stick you up in the attic. Do not, if you hear a noise, you leave.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Get out of there.
Michelle's leaving. with her Diet Coke and her purse, I'm running out the door.
Yeah.
Okay. I used to work for a model home and they used to be like, I hear sounds. I'm like, well, tough shit. I'm not going up there. He can live in the walls. As long as I don't see him between 10 and 7, we're good. Michelle's not going to go investigate. Okay. Nosy
Yeah.
neighbor, always nicked.
So this ends up really making Dracula mad, and he's getting ready to kill him.
Well,
And
yeah.
and the solicitor is like, wait, tell me more about you. So he's hoping to prolong and maybe manipulate and survive the
Yes. And
situation.
that was a very smart thing. And that is something they always tell you if you get kidnapped by some serial killer, you need to make it to where they see you as a person and not an object. So have a conversation with them, start talking, make them use your name. Because when people start seeing you as a victim, they start seeing you as a person. That's how you survive. So he was smart and said, okay, well, before you kill me, tell me about yourself. I want to know all about you, sir. Like, who would really? But
You're a
that was
solid 400 years old. You gotta have tales.
I mean, tell me your stories. I got all night just hanging out here, with my blood draining. Please tell me about yourself. Smart. So if you ever kidnap, start talking to that kidnapper. Make them see you as a person.
Yeah.
That's how you escape. Just FYI.
Yeah, that's great advice. And
Yeah,
also never go to the second location.
that's right.
Well, I mean, your chances of survival are much less at the second
Look,
location.
being overweight is really good for me because if you want to kidnap me, it's going to take a little bit of thought. So I enjoy my chips and queso because being a fluffy girl, we're not the ones they want. We're going to take some effort. So I'm just saying, fat girls, we got it down.
Yeah, like if I get kidnapped, someone
It
really
will take a
wanted it.
moment, a lot of planning.
Someone really wanted it. Yeah.
Do your cardio, folks. Start lifting weights because I'm not skinny. It's going to take a lot to get me in the back of the car is all I'm saying. It's going to be a lot of work. It may not be worth the effort. Okay.
So then Dracula tells his story about his love.
Yeah.
And this is where the solicitor finds a way to enter in his thing and try to get sympathy from Dracula. And he's like, I'm in love too. And, I have a fiance. And once I get back, I'm going to get married. And Dracula's like, what does she look like?
I
And
mean, if she was ugly, do you think that would not be good for his case? He's like, oh, dude, I'm going to kill you now and spare you from marrying this ugly chick. Right? I mean, honestly, he was lucky his fiance was pretty. I'm just saying.
I do wonder.
Don't you wonder about that kind of stuff, though? Am I the only person who thinks that?
I think he might have had empathy on him and been like, look,
Yeah.
you need to go home. It's fine. So really quick though, the woman that discovered Mina, is she the one that sent the solicitor to Dracula's home?
Well, that's a good point.
You don't know.
Yes. Yes, I think so. That is a good point. See, that was something that I missed. So when Dracula, again, these are spoiler alerts. So when Dracula got a little pissed off at the French court, he started making people into vampires. He did this one girl, and that girl just happened to have befriended Mina, who was the reincarnation of Princess Elizabeth. And when she discovered her, she realized, ding, 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 got to tell master. So Mina was engaged to that lawyer dude who got sent to the house. So that does make sense. It's too random. But I think she had told master he was coming, that she had found her, but then he just gets sent away to this castle too. But he didn't seem like he made the connection. Like he didn't know that Elizabeth was his fiance. He was surprised. So maybe not.
So I think he didn't know. I think it was just a lucky coincidence. And I think this is trying to show fate, that there were two different ways that Mina's going to be discovered by Dracula.
Right.
So Dracula discovers the woman in the locket is his long lost love. And he's like, I'm going to go get her.
Right.
I'm going to go get her. But before he gets her, he needs to feed.
Yeah.
And that is another uncomfortable scene to watch. I don't like it. I
know. But here, before we get to that, we missed a big part. So this is something I don't believe happened in the other Dracula movie that was with Gary Oldman and Winona Ryder and Keanu Reeves from the 90s. You have to see it. They copied that movie, even down to the costumes, the looks, the hair. They copied a lot from that movie, but this one was a little bit different. I don't believe they did this in the other one. He created a perfume, and the perfume is what made people be under his control. See, I always thought Dracula was just a smooth dude and he just did it on his own powers. But here it was through a perfume. So he would dab the perfume and it would make women and people just go nuts and they would get all like on their knees and they would want him and everything. So this is what he does to get people under his spell. And this is what he uses when he goes to feed at this one place. But he develops this really interesting perfume. So that was kind of.
So I haven't read Bram Stoker's Dracula since high school.
Mhm.
So I would venture to guess that the combination of these two stories is what's in the book. Like I would imagine, because that
Yeah.
perfume detail is they spend a lot of time explaining it. He finds her, and this is where the yearning happens. This, I think, is my favorite part of the movie.
Did you want
Where
to talk about the nuns or no?
the what?
Did you want to go over the feeding part of the nuns or we're skipping that?
I think we kind of described it,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Okay. So now that he has reclaimed his youth by feeding on nuns, it's
Wrapping rosaries,
incredible,
guys. Again,
right?
he's using the perfume and he just took out a whole nunnery. I mean, he was having a buffet.
And all of it in front of a crucifix.
Yeah, it was a little sacrilege. Yeah.
Yeah. And he
You
even
would
had,
think at this point he would have been happy with God because his woman was reincarnated, but no, he was still sticking it to him. So, yeah.
and actually, if you think about what that scene looked like, he
Yeah.
was going up
Right.
all the women, and then he had his arms outstretched. He goes to Paris,
Mhm.
I think, right? And
Yeah.
finds her and just spends time with her and that other woman that he turned,
Yep.
and he yearns and yearns and yearns. So they go to like a carnival, then they
Mhm.
go back to his home, and they are together, and Dracula gives her a gift. It's a music box.
Right.
And the music starts playing, and this music box is important because this was a gift that he had given her
Mhm.
previously. So Dracula says, "Does this melody remind you of anything?" And
Mhm.
she starts kind of having flashbacks.
Right. It was my thing is, did they have music boxes in the 1400s? I guess maybe they did. I don't
So
know.
that's he explained that. He explained that most people think that the music box was invented by the Swiss in the 18th century, but that he went to Constantinople and found that one around the 14th century. So
Okay.
so he did explain it, but
So
so
she
something we
plays the
should
music and she starts having these flashbacks and talking about all the passion they had together and now she knows who she really is. And she always said that she never felt like she was in the right time.
so far we've talked about Dracula's journey.
Mhm.
We have not talked about the pursuers of
Yeah,
Dracula.
right.
And the main so we have two main pursuers. One is
Yes.
a scientist and one is a priest.
I love that actor. I forgot his
Christopher Waltz or
Yes,
Christoph
I
Waltz.
love him. I think he's played in quite a few. Wasn't he in Nostradamus? He's always in these, like, interesting roles.
He was in Inglorious Bastards. That's
Yeah, he's
how
in
I
a couple of
remember
things.
him.
Yeah, I like
Mondiano.
he's a good actor. He plays kind of a interesting priest. Yeah,
Yeah, you know what bothered me? His opening scene already made me mad because he's sitting in the church pew
drinking.
and he has next to him bread and wine, and he's like,
Right,
"Oh, I just found it over there. I'm just eating." Like, you guys, what?
right. Well, he's very stressed out. He's dealing with a vampire, so he's a little peckish. He's peckish. He's like, I'm gonna have some of this bread and wine over here. I
Yeah,
mean, they didn't have DoorDash back then, so guy
yeah.
was hungry. He was hungry.
So what I want to say now,
Mhm.
let's talk about what Bram Stoker's life was like at the time that he wrote this book.
Okay.
He wrote this book in the late 1800s. He started mid 1890s and published it in 1897. Now, at
Mhm.
the time, there were a lot of scientific advances that were coming forward. Charles Darwin had put out his natural selection uh,
Okay.
theory, and then we had medical science like transfusions that were starting to happen, and there were
Mhm.
other advancements in technology. I think like the typewriter was written. So there was a part of society that was trying to reconcile religion with all of these advances. And
Mhm.
Dracula is basically trying to show that struggle because he's taking the blood, they're trying to use science to understand what he is, and then you
Right,
have the church coming in to try to stop evil from turning more people into vampires and
right.
causing the downfall of society. So that that's why there's so much of that woven into
Yeah,
the story.
right.
And I forget what I was gonna say.
Well, there was a lot of science, like, scientific research was really rampant in the 1800s when they started discovering a lot of things.
Yeah.
So, yeah, people were doing experiments and
Yeah.
surgeries and yeah.
So the at the time, so I have my notes here. At the time, people were asking if science explains everything, where does God fit? And are we losing morality as
Mhm.
we gain knowledge? So, and the characters use science. There's blood transfusions that are happening, but they're still using holy water, faith, and
Right.
crucifix. So that another big thing that was happening at this time
Mhm.
was that there was a lot of um, Eastern European movement into the UK. I don't know if it was called the UK at the time, but I believe he was Irish. Okay, so in the late 1800s, there was this fear of invasion from Eastern European countries. There was a
Right.
lot of persecution happening at the time, and people were fearful. They were thinking things. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes, everybody, because I want to make sure I'm prepared. What if outsiders come in and take over, and what if they corrupt our society from within? And
Mhm.
essentially, Dracula is Romanian, Eastern European, coming in, potentially corrupting the people with, turning them into vampires. So I think it's a combination of these two things that this book was written. It was influenced by these two things. But you all let us know in the comments if you see
Yeah.
that too. Do you, do you think all that makes sense?
Um, yeah, I'm sure it was probably inspiration. I'm sure it was a really good inspiration for his book. Um, yeah, I mean, he just it was an interesting time. It was almost toward the turn of the century. There were about 20, I think 20 years to 1900, if I'm correct, when he wrote it in the late
18,
1800s.
1897. So they were
Oh,
practically,
very close, yeah, and, it was interesting time and yeah, I mean, any time in history, there's always gonna be something, and it was a fascinating time where people were doing, experiments, medically, and, things were changing because it was the turn of the century. Invention was happening every day, scientific, technical, yeah, religion has always been a thread throughout our society. People always question science versus religion, and we still do that today. But the interesting thing is, even though there's a lot of scientists out there, they have never been able to unprove that God exists. So there's that.
so
But
I am a scientist.
you are a PhD.
And I always ask the question,
Mhm.
how do a bunch of non living things, atoms, come together and form a living thing? Profound. And let's just talk a single cell.
Right. Mhm.
So I read a quote once and it was, science and religion are not at odds. Science is simply too young to understand.
Ooh.
Isn't that lovely? I love that.
Yeah, and
Um,
you're a scientist, so
that's one of my favorite quotes, and I'm kind of ashamed of where it's from. It's from a Dan Brown novel. Okay, but like maybe Angels and Demons, I think
that was
maybe.
a good book, yeah, good movie.
Yeah. So so now we have this priest and the scientist who are pursuing Dracula. They have
Mhm.
discovered that Mina is the woman that
Mhm.
Dracula is after,
Right.
and they go and find out that she has left with him and that they went back to his castle.
And this is the part of the movie that makes me sad. I was crying when I watched it. It's like people let them be. Let them be. In 400 years to come back together and someone's got to F it up.
But what if they would have gone on a rampage and like
But maybe they would have lived happily ever after and lived off of rabbits and mice in a
but
little
the
cabin.
rabbits weren't enough to sustain him, he looked, like, really bad.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. It was a sad, sad thing. So basically, they went after them, tore up that lovely castle, which I was also upset about, with all those lovely antiques. I'm like, really, guys? You guys got to ruin the castle. And basically, yeah, stopped them from pretty much being together, which I thought was sad.
Yeah, definitely sad.
Kind of
The
like a
other
Romeo and a Juliet, kind of at
Yeah,
the
and I
end.
wish they
Yeah,
let them have some time to like, give them a week
yeah,
to, like, enjoy each other, yeah? Like anyways, so
yeah.
what we also learned earlier in the story is that if Dracula is killed,
Mhm.
anybody who's turned into a vampire will turn human again, so the curse will be broken.
Yeah. Okay.
So, Dracula does turn Mina into a vampire, but
Mhm.
if he dies, Mina will revert back to being a human.
Mhm.
So now you and I, Michelle, were talking about this and the contrast to Mr. Rochester from Jane Eyre, which
Mhm.
we talked about a TV show version of Jane Eyre on my other channel, Revealing the Narc. We're going to
Mhm.
start doing everything that's entertainment on this channel now. But
Mhm.
in that video or in that series, Mr. Rochester tries to bring Jane Eyre into a life of sin.
Mhm.
In Dracula, Dracula says to the priest, Mina is my salvation. And the priest says, but you're her damnation.
Right. And he makes the ultimate sacrifice because love is not selfish. You sacrifice yourself for the ones you love, unlike Mr. Rochester, who I cannot stand. Red flag.
I have to say, as I've been reading more and more books, Mr. Rochester is getting less and less
See,
likable.
I told
But
her if she was dating a man like him, I'd be like, red flag. Hello, the man lied to you, try to take you to the altar. Red flag.
but I still love that BBC version and I still swoon over him. I just wouldn't want to be with someone like that who would risk me
Dracula. I'll take
in
Dracula.
eternal damnation. Right? So essentially then Dracula dies
Yeah.
and that's it. That's the end of the story.
It was a beautiful love story. It just kind of shows you that, you can love someone to the end of time, but ultimately he didn't want her to curse her to live the life that he had lived because he was miserable. He hated his life. He hated his life. He was cursed by God. It wasn't a life for anybody. And it kind of begs the question, would you want to be immortal? And my answer is no. I wouldn't want to be on earth forever and watch everyone that I love die. I think we all need to have our time here on earth, but the love, it just transcended time. It was beautiful, but it was sad because she finally found her husband and then he got killed like
Yeah.
10 minutes later. It was really
Yeah.
sad. It was really sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything else, Michelle, you want to add, like that we talked about?
Um, no, it was a really good movie, but again, it was very similar to the one that was made in the 90s. So I recommend everyone check out the one with Winona Ryder, Gary Oldman. I still think his vampire was much better. And Keanu Reeves played the part of her husband, the lawyer. It was a really good cast, but it wasn't a bad movie, but I feel like they really tried to imitate the one from the 90s, like with the outfits almost. But Gary Oldman just had charisma. He had way more charisma than this one. This one was okay, but if you see the Gary Oldman,
I'll have to watch it.
you have to watch the one from the 90s. In my personal opinion, it was much better. It was almost like that, but the perfume was not in the other one. This was a new thing with that perfume. So you guys let us know. Did you watch the one in the 90s? Did you watch the new one? What are your thoughts on this movie?
Yeah. Well, everybody, let us know in the comments what movie, TV show, book do you want us to talk about next? We are actually going to have a book club soon.
Yeah.
What book were we going to read? I
I
forgot.
well, we have several, but I honestly feel like because she's got me addicted to Actar, we before the new one comes out, we should do a reread party. I'm on book 3 right now, you guys. I'm
Yeah,
halfway through book 3. We're gonna get into Akhtar later, but right now we're gonna read what was it?
behind closed I was looking at it on my
Yeah.
phone,
Mhm.
behind closed doors. So
Yeah.
one of our wonderful, wonderful subscribers recommended that book to us. Michelle has read it before, but
Mhm.
we will be reading it. And you know what? Let me give everyone the author. It's called Behind Closed Doors by B as in boy, A as in apple, Paris. So let's all
Wonderful.
read that book. We're thinking maybe mid-May, so in about 3 weeks.
Mhm.
Um, we're going to finish that book and have a conversation about it. So,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye.